Welcome everyone to Exoskeletons and Wearable Robotics podcast. With me, Bobby Marinov of the Exoskeleton Report, and with me, my co-host, Dr. Thomas Sugar from ASU and the Wearable Robotics Association too. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well.
We're super excited to have a quick and easy conversational episode about exoskeleton books. I wrote an article some time ago, but now I think it's like 7 years old at this point, and there have been other books that have been published, including one where Dr. Sugar himself is a co-editor and co-author. Are you a co-editor, Tom, on that, or just the author?
No, co-editor as well.
Co-editor and author. Perfect. And as usual, before we get started, we have quite a few new Patreon supporters, for which we're super mega thankful. At the VIP tier, we have Volker Bartenbach, Rita Vasquez Torres, Minmar, and a new VIP Patreon supporter, George Georgiev. Thank you so much for your support. And at the corporate tier, we still have Sivo, HeroWare, Digity, Hypershell, Pertezo, and now Crimson Dynamics, RoboGolf Pro, Skelix, and Logosol. So we have two non-exoskeleton companies now also supporting this effort. One of them has human-machine interfaces, and the other one is purely a robotics company. So super mega excited. Thank you for your support. If you enjoy this work, please consider supporting us as well.
Fantastic. So where would you like to get started? Just to start thinking about some of the different books?
Yeah, well, let's get started with the one that was just published, I think, this week. The Wearable Exoskeleton System 2nd Edition, Design, Control, and Applications. So what was it like for you updating from the 1st edition to 2nd edition? How many years has it been? What has changed?
Well, certainly lots of things have changed. It was, I think, 2018 was our first edition. And then we tried to basically adjust chapters. Some chapters got dropped and some chapters got added. And we really worked hard. And I want to thank all of the chapter writers, but I also really want to thank the editors. So Dr. Shopping Bai is a professor at Aalborg University, and he's the founder of Robotics Research AAU Robotics, and founder of Biotic by APS. I remember him coming multiple times to the Wearicon conference, and one year, I think they won the Innovation Challenge with the shoulder exoskeleton. And then Dr. Govinder Virk is now spending time and working in China, where he's developing wearable exoskeletons for aging applications. And he's with I'm going to mispronounce this site, Huzhou Wuxing District Intelligent Robot Innovation Research Institute, with the Huzhou Institute of the Zhejiang University of China. I've been to Zhejiang, and very, very prestigious universities. And he's a managing director of Endo Energy Systems, and he's definitely been working with CLA for many, many years. So it was quite a good experience working with the editors. We had new chapters. Actually, Bobby, just thinking about that, you and I wrote a chapter on the different exoskeleton systems that are out there. There's chapters on soft robotics. There's chapters on prosthetics and orthotics. There's some new chapters on wearable sensing and technologies and performance assessment methods, and lessons learned and emerging trends. So it's a mixture of some academics that were writing chapters, but also a mixture of companies. And so to give an example, the company Hapo has a chapter on the development of exoskeletons. So we're proud of the work, and thank you for Bobby for helping to write a chapter, and I hope this is interesting to the community. We certainly worked hard on the 2nd edition, got another edition out. Thank you. Thank you to the community.
It was my pleasure. And yes, without the community and without everyone's interest in this technology, all of this will just go nowhere into the nether. Absolutely. So speaking of the community, who would you say that this book is for? Would this be like a high school level, college, senior, masters?
I think it would be at the college level and then the master's level. I also think people in industry will get a lot out of it as well. We think that we talk about the challenges of building and designing exoskeletons and controlling exoskeletons, but we also talk about where things are going as well. And I would have said, I'm just thinking about this. I would have said, this is, you know, graduate students would get a lot out of this. But Bobby, you and I have seen, fantastic work at the undergraduate level, right? With the ACE
Yes.
competition and things like that. And I've got some undergraduate students, working on some exoskeletons for glove boxes. And I think the technology is readily available to college students and graduate students, right? Because the motor technology, the controls, the batteries, the sensors, that's all improved so much, over the years, right? There's
Yeah,
just
I think
yeah.
I think that could definitely be like a separate podcast
It's
episode. We've certainly seen some open source programs. Is educational kits now that are being sold.
yes,
There's obviously has been Arduino and motors. There's more information out there. I still definitely wouldn't call it readily accessible compared to you going and picking up like a $40 introduction to electronics kit or
right.
build my first sumo robot, which for $50, $60 you can already have a middle school, high school level competition of like whose robot is going to push the other one out of the circle. I think we can just
Right.
leave it at that this is like definitely more of a college level course, more of a people who are also interested in doing a startup in this field.
Mhm.
And it's been updated, and we are proud of the work, and we hope that it provides an overview to people where it has both the high level, but it also digs into some of the complexities. And these are all the team behind it is all people with hands-on experience with exoskeleton development.
Yeah.
Anything else that comes to mind that you want to mention for this?
Nothing else comes to mind right now. Yeah, we can go back to it, but also I'll end on, if people want to talk to the editors, please reach out, and we'd appreciate feedback.
Nice. The a good call to action there. Well, we have half a dozen books that we want to mention. So obviously, this has not been the only publication in the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
What else is out there that has caught our attention?
I was gonna say, maybe I think I'm gonna jump to this book, the second book, because we gotta jump to I think it's Professor Pons. So Professor Jose Pons wrote the first book on wearable robots and biomechatronic exoskeletons, published in 2008. And certainly he is one of the founding professors in this area. Plus, he hosts conferences every summer in Europe, and he's really thinking about neural integration with exoskeleton systems. It talks about him being a chief scientist with the Spanish Council, but also, if I should be correct, he's also a leader at the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab and runs programs there. And so he's certainly a leader in the area of, neural integration with the human body, stroke rehab, those types of areas as well. Bobby, I think you have a copy of the book, right? Or
Oh yeah, indeed. So I have my own copy. I bought it quite a few years ago. And even though it's from 2008, unfortunately, there hasn't been a second edition that we know of. But this book really got me into exoskeletons and wearable robotics, and it made me into a believer of the technology. So it's definitely more of a college level course than high school or middle school, but it's divided into two, and it has a lot of diagrams, a lot of explanations, and I'm really grateful with the way that it was divided. You can see I've been underlining through the years different sections. So the first part of the book really gets not just into history application of exoskeletons, but really like a framework of how to discuss it, how to think about it. Like one thing that's particularly useful, for example, is an explanation on how exoskeletons can follow the contours of the human body and try to match the location of the kinematic joints, or they don't have to, or it can be something in between. So once you can start putting structure into the topic, then it becomes, to me, the experience that I had it started to become more believable. It's like, okay, there's structure, there's ways to describe these things, there's prior experimental work, and then it's the second half of the book then dives into specific examples of specific projects, and there it gets really heavy. For me, that level was actually a little bit too much at the time, even having done I have a PS in bioengineering and pre-med. But even for me, there are things there's you will not be left wanting for more. It's it's an excellent book. I can't recommend it enough. I think, to me at least, this is the gold standard of wearable robotics and exoskeletons. If you want to start somewhere, you start here, and that's why, even though it's an older book, we are still talking about it right now on this podcast episode. Yeah, published 2008.
Right. Well, I think what happens too is you'll get a lot of in that am I correct on this? In that second part of the book, you'll get a lot of PhD level research that that's being described, and so that's why. But that's good, because then that was trying to tell people where are we at, what's the state of the art in the research, and kind of where things can go. So
Yeah, can't recommend it enough. But there are some other newer publications
yes.
that we have seen and have captured our attention.
So another book, Wearable Robotics Systems and Application by Professor Rosen. And I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Ferguson as well. I have not met him. But this book is, let's see, we can look at a sample, and
So we can safely say that this is another college level
right.
coursework.
And so then they have sections on upper limb exoskeletons with a bunch of different devices, and then, assistive devices and rehabilitation devices of the upper limb. And then development and control of upper extremity exoskeleton robots for rehabilitation. So then they're thinking about how can these systems be used for rehabilitation, let's say after a stroke. And then they get into some specific examples, like the ABLE system. Then they've talked about rigid versus soft exoskeletons.
As you're talking about this, I'm now finally connecting the dots. Like, where is this name familiar to me? So, for a while, there was a lab at UC Santa Cruz, and they had this beautiful red wall mounted rehabilitation upper body exoskeleton.
Yeah.
And they had an open lab day. That is the very first exoskeleton device that I have ever put on in my life. Like, small world. Wow. I just now connecting the dots.
Yeah, Professor Rosen is very famous on shoulder exoskeletons. Upper limb robotic exoskeletons, right, for an arm or dual arm. Then, other systems, let's see, chapter 6, I'm trying to see more shoulder exoskeletons, hand exoskeletons for chapter 8. right? Looking at hand disabilities, more chapter 8, 9, 10 are hand exoskeletons, and then lower limb systems, an overview there, a walk-on suit, looks like for Sabathlon 2016 race.
Fascinating. So it's safe to say that you don't have that book because I don't
I
have that.
don't have that book. I remember talking to Dr. Rosen about the book, but I don't have it. This one I don't have.
But based on the rep of
Yes.
the people involved, we can say that this will be a good read for those who are getting started or studying the technology.
Right. Lower limb systems with Professor Collins out of Stanford, physical assisted robots, and then current evidence for robotic exoskeletons and rehabilitation. My colleague, Dr. Arunjal Ramayan, and Zev Reimer is very famous. So that would be a good chapter 15. Structural exoskeletons and soft fabric systems, hybrid exoskeletons for spinal cord injuries, right? Dr. Marino, very famous exoskeletons, and then prosthetic systems and prosthetic limbs, and then sensing and control for prosthetic hands, lower limb prosthetic systems again, Professor Collins out of Stanford. Oh, and Dr. Bobby Gregg doing a lot of phase variable work. So I did some initial work in, let's say, 2004, 5, 6 in phase angles, and Dr. Bobby Gregg is very famous on doing some phase variable work as well. So yeah, that looks like quite a book on the research that's being done in this field, and I'm sure that it's probably at the senior level college or graduate student level.
Yeah, I'm looking for the preview. Like prepare yourself for vector calculus. Good stuff. Okay,
Good stuff.
we have a couple of more books that we want to mention, right?
Yes, so 3 books there. We wanted to just mention a biomechatronics book by Professor Popovich, who's really, a fantastic researcher in this area. And so we wanted just to talk about his work in prosthetic limbs, neural interfaces, orthotic systems, wearable systems for physical, augmentation and physical therapy. So we wanted to talk about the second edition of his book as well.
I'm not too familiar with his work, Tom. I'm a student of YC Fung and his approach to biomechanics. So he's more of a biomechanics person, but for UC San Diego, this was the main author, like all of our textbooks, and with a more of a focus on non-Newtonian materials and how they interact with shear forces. So what can you tell us about the work of Dr. Popovich?
I believe that he passed away 2 years back. So he was a leader in this area of understanding, I think, the neural interfaces. That's where I knew his work, in the neural interfaces, orthotic systems, and wearable systems. So he was quite a fantastic, professor in those areas.
So it sounds to me like this has good applications to prosthetics.
It does. I think this would, this isn't directly related to, let's say, exoskeletons, but it would be quite a good book if you're interested in, this area of how do humans and robotics link together, right? So how do you get the natural control of systems?
Yeah, and a little bit of context, Exoskeleton report was once upon a time called Biomechatronics. The domain name that I had was biomechatronics.net, because that was the popular term at the time, the interaction between biology, mechanics, and electronics.
Right. And I think it's just interesting. There's all these, I wanted to call it wearable robotics because I wanted to be broader than just exoskeletons. And so I was thinking about, lots of different wearable type systems. So,
Yeah, and then now over time, I think the term exoskeleton itself has become naturally broader.
yes, yes.
What else do we have on the list that we want to mention to our listeners?
Superpower. I hadn't seen this book at all, but I think you said you own it.
Yeah, so I have a copy of Superpower. So this is a children's book, definitely not a postdoc level reading. It's super light, super breezy, and it's written by Elaine Kachawa, and she has integrated the topic of exoskeletons to a level where it's children accessible. I think it's not easy to talk about new technology, make it accessible, make it sound fun. And the other thing that I love about it is that it puts exoskeleton technology in the context of emerging technology. So, human machine interfaces, MRI, extranumerary limbs. It's, I think that's an important, I think that's an important aspect that we sometimes lose when, even on this podcast, where this technology does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in an ecosystem of a changing world. So I think that she did a fabulous job integrating exoskeletons into this overview of emerging technology and how it can impact our future and how it could be digested for kids. And she also has a brand new book that came out this week as well, which is more focused on the future of construction. And she,
Can I go back for a second? I'm
yeah,
looking at it. Is this book for, get like, I'm just thinking out loud, like second graders, third graders, fourth graders, get kids interested in STEM? Or, what I mean? Like, because it's 112 pages. So I would think you have to be a third or fourth grader to read the book, or is this a book, parents can read to their kids, or how do you see it?
it really depends on different kids and different parents. Like I being the kid of a robotics engineer, obviously my dad considered that everything was kindergarten level acceptable reading
Right.
because he really wanted to push me in that direction. But I think even on the high school level, there could be things that are new and interesting, or even for people that are starting a company. Sometimes we lose track of how this technology is being perceived and interacts with all the other emerging technology out there.
Excellent.
But I think middle school probably would be like the ideal. I would pin it as a middle school level book myself.
All right. So then I had stopped you. So her next book was Building Homes for All.
Yes, and this one is more focused on construction, the future of construction, what that could look like. It's again a middle school level text. And the author has gone and interviewed people like Dr. Krelik, who we've had on the podcast, Dr. Josh Kapuru, who we've also had on this podcast. There's also input from German Bionic as well. There's wonderful illustrations. And again, it puts exoskeleton technology in the context of 3D printing, advanced materials, robotics, autonomous robotics that help with construction and inspection, and how exoskeletons can potentially blend into that. And what kid doesn't like bulldozers and construction projects? So the excellent way to introduce and integrate wearable robotics technology into the conversation.
Oh yeah, I was not familiar with either book, but we've got to whatever we can to get people interested in STEM is important. So as an educator, we need, I'd love to see more people go into STEM fields. Okay. So we have one last book you said you wanted to mention, Bobby.
Yeah, I don't have the second edition. I have the first edition. And this one is unfortunately has no diagrams. Perhaps in the second edition they have added some. And it's a curious text. I would say that this is like a high school level, but it reads linearly. It's difficult to. I wish that it was more sectioned into specific topics. Not my favorite book on exoskeletons, but I bought it and I wanted to mention that it's out there and it is on sale, and I'm super happy for them that they've gotten a second edition out.
How would we like to end, Bobby? I think that, I guess I'll end on that. There's a
Oh,
lot of,
I'll end it. I completely forgot another one. One
okay.
second.
Thank you, Bobby.
Okay. There's one more book that I think we should mention, which is the EduExo Pro handbook that comes with the EduExo Pro STEM education kit by Oxivo. And full disclosure, I should mention that by the time this podcast episode is done, I should be a distributor for the EduExo Pro. This book is personally dear and close to me because Volker has been working on it for about a decade now. I've been looking for the progress and for, how should I say it? I haven't been an editor, but I have been, I'm peripherally involved for the last decade with it. Volker also won the WRA
Innovation
Challenge. Thanks. Volker also won the WRA Innovation Challenge when this was still a little handbook. And over the years, it has evolved and expanded. So similar to Kuzok, it starts with an introduction on the concepts, on how you can think about this technology. It talks about things like the Cybathlon competition. And then it transitions into an assembly guide on how to put together the EduExo Pro, which is a upper body combination powered passive shoulder elbow exoskeleton. And then after that goes into specific labs and activities, how to attach sensors, how to get the input output of it, what the full industrial refined exoskeleton would look like, how it is applied, what it's used for. So this is definitely a high school and I would say freshman, sophomore level college. So with this, we now have the full ecosystem chain where we can start with elementary, middle school, high school, and graduate work. There's books coming out for everyone.
Yeah, I think we should end it there. I like exactly what you said. There's books at the middle school level to get people interested in STEM. There's educational books like the EduExo and the EduExo Pro to get people started in this field, because this field is tricky. You have to know motors and motor control technology, but you have to have systems that will safely integrate with the human being. And then lastly, where's that research going? And so there was, a bunch of textbooks in that area. So fantastic. I enjoyed the conversation, Bobby.
Me too, and I hope that everyone else did as well. And you have a, how should we say it? And we hope that it gives an overview of what is being published out there. This is not a static field. This is an emerging technology field. And realistically speaking, I would say there's actually fewer books these days than there were some time ago. But also they're more focused and more refined on the topic. Versus before, we would be happy, like 10 years ago, we would be happy if there's like a chapter on exoskeletons. And then suddenly that would be, oh, it's an exoskeleton book. Versus now the entire book's dedicated to orthotics, exoskeleton technology, human machine interfaces.
But let's thank our sponsors, and we really appreciate the support.
Yes, thanks to all the Patreon supporters. In addition to the podcast, we also have the weekly newsletter, which has been going strong now more than 60 weeks in a row. We have the website, we have the catalog. Dr. Sugar and I are working on expanding it. We have the guides, which we are working on rewriting. So that way we have quick and easy entry points into exoskeleton technology ourselves. So I would say 2026 so far is off to a good start, and hoping that that momentum continues for us and all of our listeners.
Yep. I wish everyone well for 2026. Thank you all.
Bye.